because now we're talking about communication.
Okay.
So that actually,
I did it. I segued
I,
you.
yeah, I was like, wait, our third theme is about management and communication. And one of the questions is like, well, how is your partnership managed? Who is responsible for overseeing collaboration? So you talked about it a little bit. You have several people doing the same thing, just pulling in connections. But also, how do you ensure that all partners remain engaged and accountable? So that communication part, like you said, sometimes you're going to get crickets. Like, are you doing regular check-ins? Is it emails? Is it calls? Like, how are you, I guess, maintaining this communication and like be managing it? Because I know you said like there's a lot.
It's a lot. I think my role specifically is pretty like getting them onboarded and then connecting them with the teacher in the program. And then we have a career services rep on every campus too. So sometimes I'll
Okay.
connect them with that, depending on what they want. And then if they need anything, they can come back to me. I do the contracts. Um,
Okay.
but once that kind of happens, then they're almost like the teacher needs to be the point person. So then the communication really comes from the teacher.
Okay,
So
so it's kind of like you kind of do that part, the like you're doing the contract, you're really getting all the information in, and then it's like once you've set it up, the teacher now it's kind of like pass the baton. Now it's
uh-huh.
really up to you to like maintain that communication, which makes sense with like some
Right,
key programs and partnership. It's like you're not going to know all the information. Obviously, you're setting them up for
right.
that, but it's like obviously if it's like the vets and all or certain teachers and stuff, you're
Yep.
not going to know all the information. So that makes sense. And
Like
then
if
I
I
guess,
need a guest speaker, I don't know what day. The teacher knows what day.
oh,
And
okay, yeah.
student like it I just don't know the specific like at that point it's I need to
So
introduce
they'll know,
you
yeah,
to the
they'll
teacher.
have all the
Yeah,
details and stuff. So you can only do so much, but it's like
right.
obviously the little details that you're not going to know that part, which is great. So they also have to have communication. And then I guess what like what's really important too, I'm sure this happens. I know there's a lot of positive, but there's also what challenges have you faced in like managing partnerships or conflicts regarding
Oh,
roles, expectations, resources, like so yeah, like I'm sure when it comes to, managing all these partnerships and getting them in, there's definitely some challenges. So what would you say is
yeah.
some of them or one of your biggest ones that you've seen or that you have to like
Oh. So our district is growing like crazy. Our sixth can't no. Well, sixth campus is opening next year. Our fifth campus opens this year. Our bond passed in the fall, so we're gonna open more campuses. It's insane. Like the next
wow.
10 years of this district, I just like need to hold on. So with that though, I've been here for this is my eighth year. Even like being here for 8 years, it's grown like
Oh wow.
crazy. My job has looked different as it's evolved. Like I was more in the curriculum department. Now I'm in the part more with partnerships. So the partnerships has evolved like crazy and it's still like that grid I just showed you was new this year that I made.
Okay.
We're trying to, reconstruct the plane as it's still in the air kind of saying, but we're trying to make things better as we grow. My position, they've told me is still going to keep changing. It's going to keep evolving to like a director position. So I think with that, there's been a ton of conflict regarding roles
Yeah, I
that's
can
happened this
see.
year.
Yeah.
Right. So I make a contact, and what I really like to do, if I make a contact and they really want to partner with us, I want to get them on a campus because our lab spaces are like state of the art amazing. I want
Okay.
yeah, I want them to see it. I want them to meet the teacher and I want them to, if I can get them there when the students are there, I want that to happen because that's like my hook. My hook is getting them on a campus because once they see like what we do, they're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
you're
then
not
it's
kidding.
like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
That makes
So on
sense.
our web and shameless plug on our website, Easter, if you go to each program, there's like a 360 video of all of the labs.
Oh,
Really cool.
that's pretty
So
cool. But you're like, oh, hey, I have that. Like, we actually have a video, like a virtual
yeah,
tour of that. That's pretty
it is.
cool.
If you want to see the cosmetology salon at the Northwest campus, which is super rad, you can like
Oh, wow.
see a
That's, I mean,
video of
but
it.
that's cool. Honestly, I love
Yeah,
that feature. And also, like, we live in such a virtual time, anyways. Like, it's
yeah,
kind of nice when you can see things up front, anyways. And I'm always
yeah.
like, I'm always a I guess I'm always a sucker for virtual tours, like in
Oh, well, there
general,
you
like
go.
no, like for everything, like even if I'm like going to an event or like a restaurant or an apartment, like I'm like they have to have like a virtual tour. I need to see
I
this.
need to see it.
Like
You
I
know
need
all the
to see.
museums online that do the
Yeah.
like tours and stuff?
That's like
Yeah, it's
I've
cool.
always loved where like you could see it beforehand, especially like also when I'm trying, like you said, like museums, like if you're
Yeah,
traveling overseas and stuff, I'm always like, oh, I need to see, like let me look at it first, and then like I can decide if I'm gonna go out of my way to like go see it. But it's yeah, I
yeah,
love that. That's pretty cool
yeah.
that you guys have that. So I guess
It,
like your biggest challenge would be like because it's positive, but also kind of a challenge is like just you guys growing rapidly, but also, I mean, that's great, but it's also like evolving into
right.
the roles that you guys have is constantly shifting. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm this position and I stay in this position. It's like literally, no, we have to keep changing our roles. So I guess that would be, yeah, that would be kind of tough. And I'm sure, I mean, that means there has to be like probably a lot of open discussions and communication revolving around that, hopefully.
Yeah, so like, and what I was trying to get at is if I go do a tour and there's a career services rep on each campus, then like after the tour, what? Like,
Yeah,
am
okay.
I following up with them? Are you following up with the teacher? I mean, I have to if it's a contract, so I'll do the contract with them. But
Okay.
it's getting a little muddy. So I know my career services director and my boss, my assistant superintendent, are trying to work on like a workflow better for that,
Okay.
for
So, because
onboarding
that part just kind of is like
onboarding.
what happens next, and everybody's kind of like in limbo of like, are we waiting
Yeah.
around? Do you like, yeah? So you're kind of like dancing around each other, kind of figuring
Yep.
it out. Okay, so that part
Yep.
is kind of like, so what happens next?
So
Like,
what happens and then like the documentation too. So in that software I showed you, there's a notes feature, and I tried to get the career services director and her reps to like use it because how do I know your rep followed up with the
right.
aesthetics contact I brought to you? I don't. And then that actually happened. I'm using that as an example because nobody followed up with her for 2 months after I toured
Oh
her. And I was like,
wow.
oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
that
So
could be challenging, yeah, because it's
right,
like how do you that part is like okay, so what happens next? Who followed up with who? And then it's like you said, so like that could happen like after 2 months, no one ever followed. So you're just
right.
like you're trying to decide like how does that have like a smooth transit, like the smoother communication, I guess, like who because ultimately nobody could follow up with anywhere, no one's going on, but you don't know. So I guess that
Right.
makes sense. So that could be definitely a challenge.
Right. It is. It is. It's getting better, and we're not horrible at it, but it
It's
could be a
yeah.
lot better. We have
Yeah,
room
I
for improvement.
mean, that's definitely, I mean, I think that's what happens when you have a lot of, like, when you're doing partnerships in general, I think there's always going to be like at least one part where it's like, okay, what happens now or who's communicating with who? So I mean, it seems like you guys are trying to make it
Yeah.
better. And like you said, with your sheet that you guys just created, the grid, that's like huge. I think that alone is pretty awesome because a lot of places don't do that. So I
Right.
think, that helps, with that process too.
Communication. Yeah.
And then we'll move on to our fourth theme is working plans and activities. So how do you distribute work